The breaking point. The sky above Toronto had turned an unnatural shade of crimson, streaked with black from the smoke of burning buildings. Captain Nadia Reeves stood atop what remained of the CN Tower observation deck, using her tactical visor to survey the devastation below. 1 month. That's all it had taken for the most advanced civilization in human history to be reduced to ruins. Status report, she demanded, not turning as she heard the heavy footsteps of her weapons specialist approaching. Not good, Captain, Tomas Kovac replied, his accent thicker than usual from exhaustion. The burly Czech man's face was smeared with soot, his left arm wrapped in a makeshift bandage. Ammunition reserves are at 16%. Power cells for the energy shields will last another 4 hours at best. Nadia nodded grimly. And our personnel? 214 combat-ready soldiers. Maybe 80 civilians who can still fight if needed. Tomas paused, his voice dropping. That's all that's left of Eastern North America's defense forces, Captain. For weeks ago, they'd had armies, air forces, navies, millions of trained military personnel with the most advanced weapon systems ever developed, all rendered obsolete within days when the Scourge arrived. Their ships had appeared without warning, massive obsidian structures that defied known physics, hovering over major cities worldwide before unleashing devastation. What about the European command? Any word? Nadia asked, already knowing the answer. Lost contact 12 hours ago. Same with what was left of the Asian coalition. Tomas looked down at his boots. We might be the last organized resistance on the planet, Captain. The thought was almost too much to bear. 8 billion people. Countless civilizations throughout human history. All coming down to this, 200 soldiers and a makeshift fortress in what remained of Toronto. Captain Reeves. The voice crackled through her comms. You need to come to the command center immediately. It was Darius Wright, their communications officer. Something in his voice made Nadia's pulse quicken. On my way, she responded, giving one last look at the horizon where the alien vessels moved like sharks circling wounded prey. Tomas, prepare the troops. I think our final stand is coming sooner than expected. The command center was housed in the former bank vault beneath what had once been the financial district. Reinforced walls designed to withstand natural disasters had proven surprisingly effective against alien weaponry as well. Darius sat hunched over a console, his dark skin illuminated by the blue glow of holographic displays. Unlike most of the soldiers who had been thrown together from surviving military units, Darius had been a civilian, a professor of linguistics and communications theory before the invasion. What am I looking at, right? Nadia asked, studying the waveform patterns pulsing across the screen. Well, I'm not entirely sure, Darius admitted, adjusting his cracked glasses. At first I thought it was interference from the Scourge ships, but it's not on any frequency they've used before. It's directed communication, Captain. Someone is trying to reach us. Another human outpost? Nadia felt a surge of hope. No, the signal is coming from deep space, well beyond our solar system. Darius's fingers danced across the console. And it's not random. There's a pattern. I've been trying to decode it for the last hour. Tomas crossed his massive arms. Could be a trap. The bug's trying to pinpoint our location. The Scourge already know where we are, Nadia reminded him. They're just taking their time, making sure we have nowhere to run before the final assault. As if confirming her words, the vault shuddered as something massive impacted above them. Dust rained from the ceiling. They're starting their attack, shouted Lieutenant Rivera from the security station. Massive movement on all sides. Nadia's mind raced through options that weren't there. Their defenses would hold for perhaps a few hours. Their ammunition wouldn't last half that time. This was the end. Keep working on that signal, she told Darius. I need to. The entire command center lurched violently, throwing everyone to the floor. For a moment, Nadia thought the ceiling would collapse on them, but then the shaking stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. What the hell was that? Tomas growled, helping Nadia to her feet. Lieutenant Rivera's eyes were wide as she stared at her screen. Captain, something just crashed about 2 kilometers from our position. One of ours, Nadia asked. We don't have anything left in the air, Tomas reminded her. It's not Scourge either, Rivera added. Different energy signature completely. Nadia made a quick decision. Tomas, you're with me. We'll take a small squad to investigate. Darius, keep working on that signal. Rivera, you have command until I return. Captain, Rivera protested, we're under attack. We need you here. If it's a weapon we can use, We need it now more than ever, Nadia replied, checking her sidearm. Otherwise, we're just waiting to die anyway. The streets of Toronto had become an alien landscape of twisted metal and crumbling concrete. Nadia led her team through the maze of destruction, following the coordinates provided by Rivera. The Scourge forces seemed to have halted their advance, their attention diverted to whatever had crashed nearby. Thermal readings ahead, whispered Corporal Jansen, the team scout. Whatever it is, it's hot. They rounded the corner of what had once been a shopping mall and stopped dead in their tracks. In the center of a perfect circular crater sat a ship unlike anything Nadia had ever seen. It wasn't the angular black mass of Scourge design, but something sleek and almost organic in appearance, its hull shimmering with a pearlescent glow that shifted colors as they watched. Is that human? Tomas asked, his weapon trained on the vessel. Nothing we ever built, Nadia replied. But I don't think it's Scourge either. As they approached cautiously, a seam appeared in the side of the craft, widening into an opening. No ramp extended, no figure emerged. Just an invitation. Could be a trap, Jansen warned. Could be salvation, Nadia countered. She made her decision. Tomas, Jansen, with me. The rest of you form a perimeter. The interior of the ship was bathed in soft blue light. The architecture was fluid, with no sharp edges or visible seams in the construction. It looked almost grown rather than built. In the center of what appeared to be the main chamber stood a single pedestal, and on it rested a cube that pulsed with inner light. Captain, Tomas hissed, pointing his weapon down a corridor. We've got movement. A figure stumbled into view, a human figure. A man in his late 30s with East Asian features, wearing what appeared to be civilian clothes, though tattered and bloodstained. Help, he croaked, then collapsed. His name was Hiroshi Nakamura, once the lead engineer for a Tokyo-based robotics company, now a refugee who had been hiding in the ruins of Toronto for weeks. As Nadia's medic treated his wounds in the command center, he told them how he'd been drawn to the crash site by the same signal Darius had detected. It called to me, Hiroshi explained, his English perfect but measured. I can't explain how, but I understood parts of it. Instructions. Instructions for what? Nadia pressed. Hiroshi looked at the cube they'd recovered from the ship, now sitting on the command table. For this. It's called the Nexus Key. It's the activation protocol for something called the Vanguard program. I've never heard of any Vanguard program, Tomas said suspiciously. Because it was never meant to be used, Hiroshi replied. It was developed in secret, a collaboration between nations that didn't trust each other but feared something worse. A last resort if Earth ever faced extinction. Well, we're there now, Nadia said grimly. So what does it do? It awakens the Guardians, Hiroshi said, reaching for the cube. As his fingers touched its surface, the object responded, its glow intensifying. Symbols appeared on its faces, scrolling too quickly to read. The ship wasn't just a delivery system, he continued. It's one of them, a combat mech beyond anything humanity has publicly developed. There are others, hidden around the world. Sleeping. Waiting. Darius looked up from his console. That's what the signal was. An activation code. The vault shuddered again as another impact struck above. Captain. Lieutenant Rivera called. The Scourge have broken through the outer perimeter. We have less than 30 minutes before they reach the vault. The cube in Hiroshi's hands was fully illuminated now, hovering slightly above his palms. I can pilot the Guardian, he said, his expression a mixture of fear and determination. The signal. It shows me somehow. Showed me how. Nadia studied him carefully. He wasn't a soldier. Just a civilian engineer thrown into a war no one could have prepared for. But there was something in his eyes, a resolve she recognized. You understand what you're volunteering for? She asked quietly. Hiroshi nodded. I lost my family in the Tokyo attack. I have nothing left but this. Nadia made her decision. Tomas, organize a team to get Hiroshi back to the ship. Provide whatever cover he needs. And what about us? Rivera asked. We hold the line, Nadia replied, checking her weapon. For as long as we can. The Scourge forces had surrounded the remains of the CN Tower when Nadia led her troops into position. Their chitinous armor glistened wetly in the red light of the dying day, mandibles clicking in what she'd come to recognize as their communication. On my mark, she said into her comm, her soldiers crouched behind makeshift barricades. They didn't have enough firepower to win, but they could buy time. Fire. The coordinated barrage caught the front line of Scourge soldiers, their bodies exploding in sprays of greenish fluid. But for each one that fell, 3 more emerged from the shadows, their energy weapons charging. Second volley, Nadia commanded, but before her troops could fire, the ground began to shake. From the direction of the crash site, a massive figure rose into the air, a humanoid shape nearly 4 stories tall. Its armor a shifting pearl-like material that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. Where a head should have been, there was instead a smooth, featureless dome that pulsed with inner light. Guardian Online. Hiroshi's voice came through Nadia's calm, neural interface active. Weapon systems. There are so many. I'll figure it out as I go. The Scourge forces immediately redirected their attack, energy blasts peppering the Guardian's armor. They seemed to dissipate harmlessly, absorbed into the shifting surface. My turn, Hiroshi said, and the Guardian raised its arm. What happened next defied description. A wave of energy erupted from the Guardian's palm, not a beam or a projectile, but something that distorted space itself. When it touched the Scourge forces, they simply came apart, not exploding, not burning, but disassembling at a molecular level. Fall back, Nadia ordered her troops. Give the Guardian room to work. As her soldiers retreated, the Guardian advanced, each step shaking the earth. More Scourge forces poured from their ships, but the outcome was now inevitable. One by one, their vessels began to lift off, retreating from the unexpected threat. They're running, Tomas said in disbelief, watching from beside Nadia. No, she replied, her tactical visor zooming in on the Scourge mothership hovering above what had once been Lake Ontario. They're regrouping. This isn't over. But for the first time in a month, we have hope. In the crimson sky above Toronto, the Guardian stood triumphant, its armor shimmering with untapped power. Around the world, Nadia knew other signals would be reaching other chosen pilots. The Vanguard program had awakened. Humanity's extinction had been postponed. The real war was just beginning. The awakening. The mothership of the Scourge hung in low orbit, its massive obsidian hull blocking out the stars above what remained of Lake Ontario. Inside the command chamber, General Vorkath stalked the perimeter, his segmented limbs clicking against the organic floor. The holographic display at the center of the room showed the battle that had just unfolded, a battle that should have been the final extermination of human resistance. Explain, he hissed, his mandibles clacking in agitation. Fleet Commander Zextol lowered his head in submission. Unknown weapon deployment, General. Human origin, but utilizing technology beyond their known capabilities. Initial analysis suggests neural interfacing far more advanced than anything we've encountered in their military databases. Vorkath's compound eyes narrowed as he studied the images of the massive humanoid Guardian that had decimated his ground forces. The humans have been keeping secrets, he chittered. This changes our strategy, but not our objective. He turned to his war council, the highest-ranking officers of the Scourge invasion force. The core extractor continues its work. We need only maintain control for another 7 planetary rotations before Earth's core is sufficiently harvested. Nothing can be allowed to interfere. What of the new weapon, General? Asked Zextol. Dispatch the dreadnoughts, Vorkath ordered, and prepare my personal combat unit. If the humans wish to fight with machines, I will show them what true technological superiority means. Captain Nadia Reeves stood in the control room beneath Toronto's financial district, watching the holographic display with a mixture of hope and apprehension. The Guardian, piloted by Hiroshi Nakamura, stood vigil at the city's perimeter, its pearlescent armor gleaming in the dawn light. Anything on the long-range scanners? She asked Darius, who was monitoring communications. The Scourge ships are repositioning, he replied, adjusting his cracked glasses. They're pulling back from direct engagement, but they're not leaving orbit. Tomas Kovac leaned against the wall, cleaning his rifle. They're not used to losing. They're regrouping. Which gives us time, Nadia said. She turned to Lieutenant Rivera. What's the status of our wounded? Stable, Captain. Morale has improved considerably since yesterday's victory. Nadia nodded. One battle won, but the war was far from over. And our new asset? As if on cue, Hiroshi entered the command center. He looked exhausted but alive in a way he hadn't before. The neural connection with the Guardian had changed him, his movements were more precise, his eyes sharper. The Guardian systems are incredible, he reported. I've only scratched the surface of its capabilities. The weapon systems alone would have taken our best military scientists decades to develop. Can it defeat the entire Scourge fleet? Nadia asked bluntly. Hiroshi shook his head. Not alone, but I've been analyzing the data from the Nexus key. There are more Guardians, Captain. At least 12, hidden around the globe. And the signal that activated this one was meant to wake them all. A murmur ran through the command center. 12 war machines with the power they'd witnessed yesterday would change everything. Where are they? Tomas demanded. I have coordinates for 3 that are closest, Hiroshi replied. One in the ruins of what was Chicago, another in the mountains north of Mexico City, and a third beneath the South China Sea. Nadia's tactical mind immediately began assessing possibilities. If we could activate even one more Guardian. There's more, Hiroshi interrupted. The Nexus key contains data about the Scourge. They're not here to conquer us, Captain. They're mining our planet's core for a rare element. Once they extract enough, they'll leave, but Earth's magnetic field will collapse in the process. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. How long? Nadia finally asked. 7 days, Hiroshi replied. Maybe less. Nadia made her decision. We need to split up. Hiroshi, you and the Guardian will defend Toronto. Tomas, take a team to Chicago and find that Guardian. I'll head to Mexico with another team. Lieutenant Rivera, you'll coordinate from here. And the third Guardian? Darius asked. We can't reach it, Nadia admitted. Not with our resources. But if we can activate 2 more, maybe we can broadcast a stronger signal, wake them all at once. The journey to the ruins of Chicago was a gauntlet of Scourge patrols and environmental hazards. Tomas led a team of 6 soldiers, traveling by night, hiding by day. What should have been a simple 6-hour drive in the world before it took them 3 grueling days. The city had been one of the first hit when the invasion began. Now it was barely recognizable. Skyscrapers toppled like dominoes. The streets flooded from the disrupted Lake Michigan. According to Hiroshi's coordinates, the Chicago Guardian was hidden beneath the remains of the Field Museum. Stay alert, Tomas whispered as they approached the museum's shattered facade. The bugs have patrols everywhere. Corporal Jenkins, their tech specialist, consulted her scanner. I'm picking up unusual energy readings below ground, consistent with what we saw in Toronto. They made their way carefully through the ruined museum, past fallen dinosaur skeletons and shattered display cases. In what had once been the main hall, Jenkins discovered a hidden elevator shaft, concealed behind a false wall. No power, she reported. We'll have to climb down. The shaft descended nearly a kilometer into the earth, ending in a massive chamber that took their breath away. Suspended in a cradle of light floated another Guardian. This one midnight blue with gold accents, more angular in design than the pearlescent one in Toronto. How do we activate it? Asked Jenkins. Tomas approached cautiously, remembering Hiroshi's instructions. We need a pilot. Someone the machine chooses. Chooses? Jenkins looked skeptical. That's what Nakamura said. The Guardian selects its pilot based on neural compatibility. Jenkins stepped forward hesitantly. I worked on neural interface systems before the invasion. Military applications, but similar principle. Tomas nodded. Worth a try. Approach the interface terminal. As Jenkins moved toward the control console at the Guardian's feet, the chamber's lights pulsed. A beam shot out from the Guardian's chest, scanning each of them in turn before fixing on Private Malik, their youngest squad member. What's happening? Malik asked, panic edging his voice as the light enveloped him. Don't move, Tomas ordered. It's choosing. The light intensified, and Malik gasped as if in pain. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the scanning beam disappeared. The Guardian's eyes flared to life, a deep sapphire blue. I can hear it, Malik whispered, his eyes wide. In my head. In the mountains north of Mexico City, Nadia's team faced challenges of their own. The coordinates led them to an ancient Aztec temple that had been converted into a research facility decades ago. The facility was now overrun with Scourge drones. Vega studied the pattern of the drones' movements. They're synchronized to a central command signal. If we could disrupt it, even for a few minutes. I can do that, said Corporal Rodriguez, their communications expert. But I need to get closer to their transmitter. Nadia weighed the risks. I'll create a diversion. Rodriguez, you get in position to jam their signal. The rest of you be ready to move the moment those drones go offline. The plan worked, briefly. Nadia's distraction drew several drones away, allowing Rodriguez to reach the transmitter and disrupt the signal. The team infiltrated the temple, finding the hidden entrance to the underground chamber where the third Guardian waited. This one was a deep forest green, more heavily armored than the one in Toronto. But before they could activate it, the facility's alarm systems blared to life. They've detected us, shouted Rodriguez. "We have maybe 3 minutes before reinforcements arrive." Nadia turned to Dr. Vega. "We need a pilot, now." "The selection process takes time," Vega protested. "We can't rush it." "We don't have a choice," Nadia replied. She stepped forward, placing her hand on the activation console. "Let's see if it likes me." The Guardian systems hummed to life, scanning waves washing over Nadia. For a moment, nothing happened. Then pain lanced through her skull, white-hot needles behind her eyes as the machine interfaced with her neural pathways. She heard her team shouting, felt hands trying to pull her away, but she resisted. The pain intensified, then suddenly cleared, replaced by an awareness unlike anything she'd experienced. The Guardian wasn't just a machine. It was alive in its own way, its consciousness merging with hers. "I'm in," she gasped as the neural link stabilized. "Get clear of the facility." Now. From orbit, Vorkath observed with mounting rage as not one, but 3 Guardians became active across the North American continent. His dreadnoughts were already en route to Toronto to deal with the first, but now the situation had escalated beyond acceptable parameters. "Accelerate the core extraction process," he ordered. "We cannot afford to wait 7 days." "General," Zextol protested, "pushing the extractors beyond safe parameters could destabilize the entire operation." "I did not ask for your assessment," Vorkath hissed. "This planet will be harvested before those machines can organize an effective resistance. Prepare my command ship. I will lead the attack personally." In the Toronto Command Center, Darius Wright monitored communications with growing excitement. "Captain Reeves, are you reading me? We're receiving telemetry from Chicago. Tomas's team has activated another Guardian." "I read you." Nadia's voice came through, strained but clear. "We've activated the Mexico Guardian as well. I'm piloting it." Hiroshi, who had been resting between neural link sessions with his Guardian, straightened in surprise. "She's compatible?" "The odds of finding 2 compatible pilots so quickly." Darius shook his head. "Maybe the machines are less picky when the world is ending." "Tomas reports Private Malik is piloting the Chicago Guardian." "What's our next move, Captain?" "Rendezvous at the Toronto perimeter," Nadia ordered. "Hiroshi, can we use 3 Guardians to amplify the signal? Wake the others." "Theoretically," Hiroshi replied, "but we'd need to be in physical proximity. The neural link strengthens when the Guardians are near each other." "Then that's the plan," Nadia confirmed. "We'll unite our forces and broadcast the activation signal worldwide." "How long will it take to get to Toronto?" "At maximum speed, the Guardians can cover that distance in hours," Hiroshi said. "But Captain, there's movement in orbit. The Scourge are repositioning their fleet. Something big is coming." The journey back to Toronto was a blur for Nadia. The sensation of piloting the Guardian was unlike anything she'd experienced. It responded to her thoughts before she could even fully form them, its massive legs eating up the distance in gigantic strides. The neural interface provided her with tactical data, environmental readings, and weapon systems she was still learning to comprehend. As she approached the Toronto perimeter, she saw Hiroshi's pearlescent Guardians standing guard, and from the west, the midnight blue form of Malik's Chicago Guardian appeared on the horizon. 3 Guardians. Tomas's voice came through her calm. "The bugs must be losing their minds." "They're responding," Darius reported from the command center. "Massive energy signatures descending from orbit." "Captain, they're bringing down something big." The sky darkened as a Scourge command ship, easily 3 times the size of their standard vessels, descended through the clouds. It hovered above Lake Ontario, its hull bristling with weapons. "Defensive positions," Nadia ordered, feeling her Guardian respond instantly to her thoughts. "Hiroshi, how soon can we broadcast the activation signal?" "The 3 Guardians need to synchronize first," he replied. "Form a triangle, equal distance apart. The Nexus keys will do the rest." As the 3 massive machines moved into position, the Scourge command ship's underside began to open, revealing what appeared to be a massive cannon. "That's not a weapon," Hiroshi warned, his voice tense. "That's their core extractor, the device they're using to mine Earth's core. They're accelerating the process." A beam of blinding energy shot down from the ship, boring into the lake. The ground immediately began to shake, buildings that had somehow survived the invasion now crumbling under the seismic strain. "How long do we have?" Nadia demanded. "Hours, not days," Hiroshi replied grimly. "Once the core extractor reaches full power, it's game over." The 3 Guardians completed their triangle formation just as smaller Scourge vessels began deploying from the command ship, swarms of fighters descending toward them. Synchronizing neural links, Hiroshi announced. Everyone, clear your minds. Focus on the connection to your guardian. Let the machines communicate through us. Nadia closed her eyes, feeling the neural link expand. Suddenly, she was aware not just of her guardian, but of Hiroshi's and Malik's as well, 3 points of consciousness connected by invisible threads. Through this expanded awareness, she felt something else, distant echoes of other guardians around the world, dormant but stirring. It's working, she whispered. I can feel them. A pulse of energy erupted from the 3 guardians, spreading outward in an expanding sphere. The Scourge fighters caught in its path faltered, their systems temporarily disrupted, but that wasn't the pulse's purpose. It carried the activation signal, amplified by the combined power of 3 active guardians, reaching across continents and oceans. Multiple energy signatures detected worldwide, Darius reported excitedly. Beijing, Sydney, Rio de Janeiro, London, New Delhi. They're waking up. The Scourge command ship shifted position, its weapons turning toward the 3 guardians. Before it could fire, the core extractor beam wavered, its energy fluctuating wildly. Something's wrong with their equipment, Tomas observed. No, Hiroshi replied, awe in his voice. Look at the beam. The core extractor's energy was being redirected, pulled sideways as if caught by an invisible force. Following its new trajectory, they saw the cause. Rising from beneath the waters of Lake Ontario, a 4th guardian emerged, this one a gleaming silver, its design more aquatic than the others. That's impossible, Hiroshi breathed. There wasn't supposed to be one here. The silver guardian extended its hand, absorbing the energy from the core extractor. As it did, a figure materialized on the shoreline, a woman in her 60s, her white hair blowing in the wind. Dr. Eliza Monroe, Darius identified her from the command center. She was the head of Project Vanguard before the invasion. We thought she died in the first wave. The Silver Guardian redirected the absorbed energy, firing it back at the Scourge command ship. The vessel's shields held, but barely, as the command ship retreated higher into the atmosphere. Guardians of Earth, Dr. Monroe's voice came through their comm systems. I've waited 30 years for this day. The Vanguard program was designed for this moment, when humanity faced extinction. Now we fight back. Across the globe, Guardians rose from their hiding places, 12 in total, each with its pilot chosen by the neural interface. Nadia felt them all through the expanded link, a connection that spanned the planet. In his command ship, Vorkath watched with growing fury as his carefully planned harvest was disrupted. The core extractor had been damaged by the Silver Guardian's counterattack, and now his sensors showed Guardians activating worldwide. General, Zextol reported, the humans have mobilized defenses beyond our intelligence estimates. Recommend immediate withdrawal to preserve the fleet. Coward, Vorkath spat. The Scourge do not retreat. Prepare my combat unit. I will destroy these machines myself. From the underside of the command ship, a hangar opened, deploying a massive combat mech, a twisted, insectoid version of the Guardians, with Vorkath's consciousness driving it. The mech plummeted toward Toronto, landing with enough force to crater the ground beneath it. Humans, Vorkath's amplified voice boomed across the battlefield. Your resistance is futile. Your world is already dying. The core extraction process has begun and cannot be reversed. Even if you destroy this body, the collapse is inevitable. Nadia stepped forward in her Guardian, facing the alien general. Then we'll go down fighting. But I don't think we're done yet. The battle that followed was like nothing Earth had ever witnessed. For Guardians against Vorkath's combat mech, each blow shaking the ground, each energy blast lighting up the sky. The alien general was powerful, his technology built from countless worlds the Scourge had harvested before Earth. But he fought alone, while the Guardians fought as one, their neural links allowing them to coordinate with perfect precision. Hiroshi provided speed, Malik power, Dr. Monroe technical expertise, and Nadia the tactical guidance that kept them one step ahead. The core extractor is still active, Dr. Monroe warned as they battled. We need to destroy it, or Earth is doomed regardless of this fight's outcome. We need to get to the command ship, Nadia agreed. But first, we deal with the general. Vorkath's mech caught Malik's Guardian with a powerful blow, sending the midnight blue machine crashing through what remained of a skyscraper. The alien general pressed his advantage, weapons charging for a killing strike. Before he could fire, Nadia's guardian tackled him from behind, her energy blade slicing through one of his mech's limbs. Hiroshi and Dr. Monroe joined the assault, their combined attacks forcing Vorkath onto the defensive. You fight well, the alien general acknowledged. But your species was doomed the moment we selected your world. Your sun's unique radiation creates an element in your planet's core that powers our civilization. We have harvested 1,000 worlds before yours, and will harvest 1,000 more after. Not this one, Nadia replied, driving her energy blade deeper. The alien general's mech convulsed, systems failing as critical damage accumulated. With a final surge of power, Vorkath separated his command module from the dying machine, the smaller craft rocketing back toward the mothership. He's escaping, Malik shouted, his guardian rising from the rubble. Let him run, Nadia replied. We have a bigger target. Together, to the command ship. The ascent to the Scourge mothership pushed the Guardians to their limits. They were designed for atmospheric operation, not space flight, but the desperation of the moment drove their systems beyond intended parameters. As they approached, the mothership's defenses activated, energy weapons firing at the approaching Guardians. We need to take out the core extractor, Dr. Monroe instructed. The central chamber, beneath the main hull. All other targets are secondary. The 4 Guardians blazed through the defensive fire, their combined shields holding, barely. They reached the hull, using their energy weapons to cut through the alien metal. Inside, they faced waves of Scourge soldiers and automated defenses, fighting their way toward the central chamber. Energy readings are off the scale, Hiroshi reported as they approached the core extractor. The machine is already at critical levels. If it overloads, then we make sure it overloads in the right direction, Nadia decided. Dr. Monroe, can we redirect the energy back into the ship itself? Yes, but someone would need to remain behind to manually override the control systems, the scientist replied. The feedback would destroy everything within a 1,000-kilometer radius. A moment of silence passed through their neural link before Dr. Monroe spoke again. I'll do it. My guardian was designed for this specific contingency. Doctor, there must be another way, Nadia protested. There isn't, Monroe replied calmly. And I've lived a full life, Captain. This was always my destiny, to ensure the Vanguard program succeeded when humanity needed it most. They reached the central chamber, a massive spherical room dominated by the core extractor, a pulsing column of energy that stretched from floor to ceiling. Scourge engineers scattered as the Guardians entered, abandoning their posts. The rest of you need to go, Dr. Monroe said, her silver guardian approaching the control console. Get back to Earth. The other Guardians will need leadership in the days to come. There will be more challenges than just the Scourge. Reluctantly, Nadia, Hiroshi, and Malik retreated, their Guardians moving back the way they had come. As they reached the hull breach, Nadia looked back one last time at the Silver Guardian, now integrated with the core extractor systems. Goodbye, Doctor, she whispered. And thank you. The 3 Guardians were barely clear of the mothership when it began to glow from within, energy surging through its hull. The explosion that followed was visible from the ground, a new sun briefly blooming in the sky before fading away, taking the Scourge command structure with it. 3 months later, Nadia stood on the rebuilt observation deck of the CN Tower, watching as reconstruction crews worked below. The Guardians had been instrumental in the recovery efforts, their power and precision perfect for clearing rubble and raising new structures. Hard to believe how far we've come, Tomas said, joining her at the railing. And how far we still have to go, Nadia replied. The war had been won, but Earth was forever changed. Billions had died, cities had been destroyed, and the survivors faced the daunting task of rebuilding civilization. The Guardian network is fully operational, Hiroshi reported, approaching with a tablet in hand. All 12 units responding to commands. The neural links are stable. And the core damage? Nadia asked. Stabilized, Hiroshi confirmed. Dr. Monroe's sacrifice wasn't just about destroying the Scourge, she managed to reverse the extraction process enough to prevent catastrophic failure. We'll have geological instability for generations, but the planet will survive. Nadia nodded, relief washing over her. They had come so close to extinction, saved only by a secret program and the courage of those willing to sacrifice everything. Any sign of additional Scourge vessels? She asked. Nothing yet, Tomas replied. But they're still out there. Vorkath escaped, and the Scourge empire spans galaxies, according to the data we recovered. Then we'll be ready, Nadia said, her hand unconsciously touching the neural link implant at the base of her skull. Through it, she could feel her guardian waiting, and beyond that, the presence of the other pilots around the world, a network of defenders united by purpose. As the sun set over the recovering city, Nadia felt something she hadn't experienced since before the invasion. Hope. Not just for survival, but for a future where humanity would never again be so vulnerable. The Vanguard program had awakened, and with it, Earth's resolve to defend itself against whatever threats the universe might hold. High above, her guardian stood watch, its green armor gleaming in the fading light. A sentinel protecting a world that was wounded, but unbroken.